No worries, yeah. 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 Hello. Hi everyone. My name is Philip, and today I'm going to give a talk on why gamers hate NFTs and what we can do about it. So yeah, just to kind of get a read of the audience, like hands up here. Who's a gamer? Any game developers in? Any NFT collectors in? Any gamers who passionately hate NFTs? Okay, we got a couple. Right. So hopefully after the presentation, I'll have you converted. So, yeah. To give you my background, I'm a developer. I work for a game studio that's currently working on a Web3 game called Resurgence. I'm based in Ireland. This is kind of a good meme to kind of show the current sentiment of NFTs for gamers. What inspired you to make your NFT project? Hello, I like money. So we could probably have a lot of work to do to try and overcome that sort of negative sentiment. I'll discuss the kind of points on that later in the topic, but first I probably want to just go over where the market is currently. I know the guy from DAP Radar probably covered a lot of this already, but so no harm to kind of ram it home and cover the same points again. Where we are now in the gaming industry. So Web3 gaming studios raised about 4.5 billion in 2022. So that was approximately 62% of all funds raised in the crypto space. Obviously, it's very high. So it's a large part of the crypto industry as a whole. DeFi took a bit of a hit last year for obvious reasons, but 62% is still quite a lot. Over 70% of blockchain use is gaming. That's by transactions. Also, as the guy from DAP Radar mentioned, it's a lot of bots, so that's another problem we have to overcome, and that could be a separate talk in itself of how would we stop bots from exploiting the system. And the the growth rate is huge. So 90% growth rate in transactions, which is massive. And if you're able to project that growth rate out over a couple of years, you could see really a huge growth in the industry. So So I'll just go. So why do gamers have sort of resistance to NFTs? So kind of a couple of points. It's like a pay to win. It's a pattern that people don't like. That's what they see. NFTs are seen as that you have to have enough money to have this NFT, to have a particular sword or weapon in a game that allows you to play the game. It's perceived as exploitation of users. People maybe have already paid for a game. They don't want to pay for extra assets and stuff in the game. They just really don't like that idea. The early Web3 games, they just lacked a bit of quality. Companies raised money. They were under pressure to release a game quick and be first to market. But a good game just takes multiple years to build, and the games that were rushed out they just didn't have the playability. They weren't enjoyable. So that's kind of the three points on that. How would we overcome this resistance? So there's kind of 4 points I've come up with that we might help this situation. Number one is like naming. NFT is just a terrible name. Crypto, we're probably good at naming things badly. A digital collectible just sounds a lot better. It's a lot more intuitive to people. Also, like good UX. At the moment, UX is poor enough. People who are not native to crypto find a struggle with wallets and things like that. So it's just something that we really need to work on. And then fair play. So kind of free to play over pay to win. And then bring in that utility. So what's the benefit to the users of having this NFT? We really need to show where we bring that utility. Just to go over the points individually. So the naming, the term NFT kind of lacks appeal, and it fails to capture the kind of essence of like what a digital collectible is. Reddit is a good example of a rebranding. They had an NFT collection, but they called it digital collectibles, and it was very successful. They had, I think, onboarded about 10 million users, and very good feedback and very little resistance from the community. Just overall, like digital collectibles, it's just a lot more intuitive and relatable. Next point is just good UX. A seamless onboarding experience. I think like crypto in general probably has a UX problem. So maybe a user has to go to an exchange, buy a token, put in their credit card details, maybe do KYC, put in their passport, wait 3 or 4 days, and then bridge that token onto another network and wait another few hours for that transaction to settle. If that's going to be the onboarding experience to the game, you're not going to have a lot of players. So that's probably the main thing that really needs to be worked on. Other things like gasless transactions, so rather than having to pay money to participate in the game, you give like a certain amount of gas transactions free, maybe the first 3 or 4 transactions, just to get people over the line and reduce that barrier to entry. Another option then is like lazy minting. So if you have an asset in a game that may be an NFT, you store that in a database. This is owned by a particular user, and only at a certain point where the user wants to mint that back out, do they have to go through the process of connecting their wallet. So they want to use it somewhere else, or they want to sell it, and that just kind of pushes the problem of integrating the wallet or connecting the wallet down the line for the user. So and then fair play. So I think this is like a key one. Just players just want like kind of skills-based progression rather than like having to pay extra money to get like up to the next level or upgrading your ability in game. And then just like pay to win, it just excludes and alienates players. So players that don't have the resources aren't going to participate in the game. So you're already just limiting the number of users. And then just enhances the long-term engagement. So if players are leveling up based on their skill and their effort, they'll just enjoy the game a lot more, and you'll end up with a lot more users. And then utility. So a lot of NFT roadmaps just are a lot of froth. It's something that it's probably a problem with the industry, and people have been probably let down by the promise of a lot of utility that never materialized. But yeah, there is things you can do, and I mean what you can offer as utility is endless. There's any number of things you can do, but just like some things you could do: early access to a game or to a beta version of a game, access to swag and merchandise, exclusive access to in-person events. And then another one is just like bringing your NFT into another game. So if you have like a skin or an asset you want to transfer to another game, so you just have to do it like an integration with another game. That's probably a really useful one where you can, use your NFT across multiple games. And then just another key one, just listening to players is probably the most important thing. Engage with users on social media platforms, Discord, etc. Listen to their feedback. Involve the users in decision making, so polls. If you're changing the mechanics of the game or the NFT, just involve them at every step. And the one thing I've seen a lot is like so with new games versus existing games. So the studios that got the most heat over bringing NFTs were people who tried to put NFTs into an existing game that already had a community, and they got huge backlash. And it was tried a number of times, and then they had to roll back quickly because people just didn't like the idea of putting NFTs into a game that was already there. Whereas if you have a new game and it's kind of Web3 from the start, it's a lot more accepting from the community because they kind of know what they're getting into from the very start. So I think that's like an important point. Just to be very careful if you're trying to add NFTs into a game with a community or a game franchise. So just my closing thoughts. The games are coming, so the studios have raised a ton of money. It takes a long time to build them, so maybe the next 2 or 3 years you'll see a lot of AAA games. It has to be game first and crypto second, and it has gaming has the potential to onboard like the next 100 million users. And if we can give really good experiences to users, we can help achieve that. So that's end of presentation. Thank you very much. I'm here to answer any questions if you like.